You know that feeling after surgery, when the anesthesia just fades?
Mm-hmm. That awareness kicks in.
Exactly. If you've been there, or you're just curious about what managing that pain actually involves, well, you're in the right place.
We got a really interesting report here. It digs into the global market for post-operative pain treatments.
Right. The medicines, the therapies used after someone leaves the operating room.
Yeah, and this report gives us a pretty comprehensive look where we are now, where things seem to be headed, say, out to 2033.
Okay, so it has market-size projections.
Projections, yeah. Plus, what's driving the market, the challenges, emerging trends, and how it all looks region by region.
So our plan for this deep dive is basically to cut through the noise,
Yeah.
pull out the key takeaways from this report for you.
Give you the clear picture without drowning you in data.
What's the real story behind postoperative pain management, and, well, why does it matter?
Okay, let's start with the big picture then. The overall market size and the growth trajectory.
Sounds good. Hit us with the numbers.
All right, so for 2025, the global market for these therapeutics is pegged at USD 14,970 million.
14.97 billion. That's substantial.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's not stopping there. By 2033, the forecast puts it at USD 23,325 million.
Wow. Okay. Nearly 15 billion up to over 23 billion. What's the growth rate look like year on year?
The report estimates a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 5.70%.
5.7%.
Yeah, for the period 2025 to 2033. And just for context, the calculations use 2024 as the base year, looking back and projecting forward. So it suggests a pretty consistent upward trend.
A steady 5.7% climb each year.
Okay.
That gives a good sense of the overall momentum. Now, how does this play out geographically? I mean, where's the demand?
This is where it gets quite interesting. Different regions, different stories. North America for 2025 has the biggest slice of the pie.
How big?
Over 37%. That translates to about USD 5,538.9 million.
Okay, market leader.
Right. But their growth rate, the CAGR, from 2025 to 2033 is projected a bit lower at 4.2%.
Slower growth than the global average then.
A little, yeah. Within North America, the U.S. is obviously the dominant force. About USD 4,370 million in 2025, growing at 4.0%. Canada's around 665 million, growing at 5.0%. And Mexico around 504 million, 4.7% growth.
So North America leads now, but maybe other places are growing faster.
Exactly. Let's look at Europe. They hold the second spot, over 29% market share in 2025. That's about USD 4,341 million.
And their growth.
Their projected CAGR is 4.8% through 2033. So similar kind of growth to North America, maybe slightly higher.
Okay. Any key countries driving that in Europe?
Yeah, the UK shows strong growth, actually. 5.6% CAGR, starting from about 729 million in 2025. Germany is also significant, almost 860 million in 2025, projected at 5.0% growth. So, established markets, steady growth.
Right. Solid but not explosive. Okay, I have a feeling the next region might be where the real action is happening in terms of speed.
You're thinking Asia-Pacific, APAC. Well, you'd be right. In 2025, APAC holds around 24% of the market. That's about USD 3,592.8 million.
Okay, so smaller than Europe currently.
Currently, yes. But here's the kicker. It's forecast to be the fastest growing region by a good margin. We're talking a CGR of 8.4%.
8.4%. Wow, that is fast. Almost double North America's rate. What's fueling that surge in APAC?
It seems to be a mix. Rising number of surgeries happening across the region, for one.
Makes sense.
Plus more awareness, about managing pain well after surgery. And improvements in healthcare infrastructure are allowing for more advanced options.
Any specific countries really pushing that growth?
India stands out. Its projected CAGR is a huge 10.3%.
10%.
Yeah. And China, while its growth rate is slightly lower at 7.9%, it's already a massive market, over 1.5 billion USD in 2025. So huge momentum there.
That really paints a clear picture of where a lot of the future expansion is likely to come from. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa?
They're smaller pieces of the global market currently, but still showing solid growth. South America is just over 4% share in 2025, about $569 million.
And growing at
a pretty healthy 6.4% CAGR. Brazil is key there, growing at 7.0%.
Okay. Middle East.
Also around 4% share, slightly larger dollar value, maybe $599 million in 2025.
Yeah.
And their growth is strong too, 7.0% CAGR. Saudi Arabia is notable there, 7.3% growth.
Interesting. And Africa?
Africa holds the smallest share, about 2.2%, around $329 million in 2025, but still growing respectably at 6.0% CAGR.
So, summing up the regions. North America and Europe are the big established players now, but APAC is really the growth engine, with South America and the Middle East also showing pretty dynamic expansion potential.
That's a good summary, yeah.
Okay, let's shift perspective. What's actually driving this global demand? What are the key factors pushing the market upwards?
The report highlights a few main things. First, as we sort of touched on, simply more surgeries are being done worldwide. More procedures mean more need for pain management after.
Stands to reason.
Second, real advances in the drugs themselves, especially developing alternatives to opioids, non-opioid analgesics.
Right, that's a big topic. Avoiding the risks.
Exactly. Third, there's just better understanding now among doctors and patients that good pain control is vital for recovery. It's not just about comfort, it affects outcomes. And finally, the rise in chronic pain conditions, which can complicate surgery, and also surgical complications themselves, sometimes increases the need for these kinds of therapies.
Those all seem like strong tailwinds.
Yeah.
But every market has challenges. What's holding things back? What are the restraints?
Two main ones stand out in the report. First is cost. Some of the newer, more advanced treatments can be expensive.
Accessibility.
Yeah, that limits access, especially in, areas with tighter healthcare budgets or less insurance coverage. The second big one is the whole issue around opioids.
The addiction crisis.
Precisely. Concerns about misuse and addiction make everyone, doctors, patients, regulators, cautious, even though opioids can be very effective for severe pain. So that caution can limit the use of certain therapeutics.
Understandable. So, given those drivers and restraints, how's the market evolving? What trends are shaping the way post-operative pain is treated now?
We're seeing some definite shifts. A big one is that move towards non-opioid options. A clear preference is emerging.
Any examples?
Yeah, the report mentions COMBOGESIC IV. It's an intravenous mix of acetaminophen and ibuprofen, a non-opioid combo gaining traction.
Okay, yeah. What else?
There's a growing focus on personalized medicine, tailoring the pain strategy to the specific patient.
How so?
Considering their type of pain, their history, maybe even genetics down the line to find the best fit. And related to that is the trend towards multimodal pain management.
Multimodal, meaning?
Using a combination of approaches, so maybe different types of drugs like NSAIDs plus a local anesthetic and also non-drug methods like physical therapy. The idea is better pain relief with less reliance on any single drug class, especially opioids.
Like a toolkit approach. Sounds smarter, safer maybe. Now let's drill down into the drug types. Which classes are expected to lead and which are growing fastest?
Well, NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, they're expected to keep dominating the market share.
Like ibuprofen.
Exactly. They work well for mild to moderate pain and, crucially, help minimize the need for opioids. But the fastest growing segment, that's expected to be anti-epileptic drugs.
Drugs for epilepsy. For post-operative pain, that seems counterintuitive.
It does at first glance, but they've been found to be quite effective for neuropathic pain.
Nerve pain.
Right. That kind of nerve pain can sometimes happen after surgery, and standard painkillers don't always touch it. So these drugs are finding a new role.
Fascinating. Okay, what about how these drugs are given? The route of administration. Any trends there?
Right now, intravenous, the faith, direct into the vein, holds the biggest market share.
Makes sense in a hospital setting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quick onset, precise dose control, really important right after surgery. But the oral route pills, liquids, is expanding rapidly.
For use at home, I imagine.
Primarily, yes. Convenience is king once a patient is discharged. Taking a pill is just much easier than managing an IV line outside the hospital.
Definitely. And where are patients getting these medications? How are they distributed?
Hospital pharmacies are the biggest channel currently. Again, that makes sense. They supply patients during their inpatient stay.
But is that changing?
Yes. The fastest growing channel, according to the report, is online pharmacies.
The digital shift.
It mirrors what we see elsewhere in healthcare. People value the convenience of ordering online, especially for managing recovery meds once they're home.
Okay, another factor mentioned in the outline was tariffs. The report talks about tariffs reintroduced in April 2025. What's the potential impact there?
Yeah, this is a significant point. The report notes these tariffs target pharmaceutical products and, importantly, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the APIs.
For raw materials for drugs.
Exactly, coming mainly from places like China and India. The tariffs vary, but the expected consequences are pretty broad. Well, potentially higher production costs for drug companies. That could mean higher prices down the line for patients or healthcare systems.
Yeah.
Also, potential supply chain disruptions, delays, companies scrambling to adjust, maybe find new sources. Regulatory hurdles could pop up too.
Which drugs might be most affected?
The report suggests generics and also newer biopharmaceuticals could be hit hard as they often rely heavily on APIs from those regions. And there's always the risk of retaliatory tariffs from other countries, making global trade even more complex.
Sounds like a potential headache for the industry. How do companies navigate something like that?
The report really stresses the need for good market research now more than ever, keeping track of API prices, supplier reliability, understanding the tariff impacts.
Staying informed.
Precisely. That allows companies to make better sourcing decisions, manage compliance, maybe even look at alternative manufacturing sites to mitigate the risks. It's about being data-driven and adaptable.
Adaptability seems key.
Mm.
Okay, let's wrap up by looking at the players. Who are the companies competing in this space? What's the competitive landscape like?
It's described as very active, very innovative, lots of focus on, you guessed it, better non-opioid options, improving local anesthetics, and those multimodal strategies we talked about.
So R&D is a big focus.
Huge. Plus partnerships, acquisitions. Companies are trying to expand their offerings. For instance, Therapeutics is bringing in more advisors to help develop longer-lasting pain relief solutions.
Oh.
AtriCure launched a new probe, the CryoSphere Max, for using cold therapy more effectively post-op. Heron Therapeutics partnered up to boost sales of their product, ZYNREF.
So lots of activity. Who are the big names?
The report lists several key competitors. You've got Novartis, Allergan, now part of AbbVie, Teva, Pfizer, Janssen, which is J&J, Purdue Pharma, Endo, Pacira, Eaglet, GSK, a mix of big pharma and more specialized companies.
It's a crowded field, it sounds like. All right, we have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Let's try and quickly distill the main takeaways.
Okay, so it's a large, growing global market for postoperative pain relief.
Yep, projected to hit over $23 billion by 2033.
Driven largely by more surgeries happening and that significant shift towards non-opioid treatments.
With big regional differences in growth, APAC leading the charge.
Right. And we can't ignore external factors like those potential tariff impacts and the intense competition pushing innovation.
It really shows how many factors shape this crucial part of healthcare.
Yeah.
Effective pain management isn't just nice to have, it's fundamental to good surgical outcomes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. We've talked about the rapid growth in non-opioids and this move towards personalized pain management. Looking ahead, what truly novel innovations might completely reshape how we experience recovery after surgery?
Could it be entirely new drug delivery systems, maybe therapies that are hyper-targeted, only blocking specific pain signals? Or perhaps a much bigger role for digital health tech in managing pain day to day?
What could that future really look like, and what would it mean for patients, for the industry? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Pleasure to be here.